Welcome to a gloomy day in Russia, a gloomy, windy day, and I'm going to talk about a bit of a gloomy topic. I'm going to talk about regret and about my childhood. I think we all live life with some sort of regret. We all probably wish we did something that we didn't end up doing. I hope the wind's not going to interfere too much with this video. Let's see. Gonna go and shelter somewhere. Maybe I'll go inside the house. When I was a kid, I mean a kid, like 5, 6, I wasn't confident at all. I was really not a confident kid, but I was really good at football. And so I really enjoyed playing football, and I was a goalkeeper, and I remember playing for my school team, and my headmaster told the people in charge of the area team that they should come and have a look at me because I was pretty good, and I got selected to play for the area team. However, I wasn't confident and I didn't actually want to play. I enjoyed playing football with my friends, but when it came to playing for representing like the entire area of schools against other areas of schools, and it's talking like, you know, probably like 50 schools, right? And I'm like in goal representing us. I was very nervous, and I hoped that the game would be over. I just wanted to get the game over without making a mistake. I was so nervous. I probably had anxiety, but I didn't know what it was back then. I was a kid, and when you're a kid, you don't want to stand out. So I didn't want to tell anyone that I was feeling anxious. I didn't know what anxiety was. I probably just thought it was normal. And it was such a shame, because if I'd have told people how I was feeling, then maybe I could have got some help with it. I was really good at playing in goal, but I used to hate playing in goal. And there were certain things that I wasn't good at when it came to being a goalkeeper that I was too ashamed to kind of admit. I don't know why, you know, and I couldn't tell anyone. And so therefore I didn't improve. I kind of hid away from everything, and it's such a shame. And when I went to secondary school, I was playing in goal, but I just kind of wanted to play football with my friends. I didn't want to play anymore for the teams, and it's a real shame. When I speak to my dad about it now, he's like, yeah, you know, I wish we did address that, because I was pretty good, to be fair. And so then after that, you know, I would take a football to school every day. I think I took a football to school every day of my life, from when I was 5 years old until I was 16. Every day in school I took a football to school. And when I became an adult and left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I cared about was playing football, but it was obvious I wasn't going to be a footballer. So what was I going to do? And I got kind of lost for a while. I always felt like I wasn't really accepted by kind of white British people, and I always kind of hung around with the outsider crowd. All my friends were black and Asian, and I guess treated life like I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what profession I wanted. I just kind of messed around, hung around with the wrong crowd probably, and did some things that I really wasn't proud of. And life was just kind of, yeah, it was almost like I really had no idea about anything. I don't know if you felt the same as this, but when I was at school, I finished school in 1995, and I had no idea about professions. My dad was a teacher, so I knew about teaching. But that was all. I had no idea about what people actually did, what adults did, where they went, what they did all day, and earned money to come back home. There was no internet. There was no kind of sense of learning about anything. I got a job in McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's for a few years, and yeah, I just kind of messed around for a long time. I want to build a balcony here, or a terrace, over the length of the whole house, and coming out like 4 or 5 meters, but I don't know if my skills are going to be good enough, and it's just going to be a disaster. Is that something that you would try if you weren't a kind of handyman person? I wonder if we all look back on our childhood and think, I wish we'd done something different. I wish we behaved different. I wish we'd known different things. I really enjoy watching 80s movies and even just TV programs from the 80s. It just reminds me of being a kid. But still, when I'm watching these TV programs and films, obviously now I'm watching it with a mind of someone who lives in 2025. And so you can't really imagine what it was like to be there in the 80s, and really we didn't have a clue about anything, right? If you wanted to learn something, you probably had to go to the library and get a book. I remember I really enjoyed skateboarding, but the first skateboard book, I got a book from the libraries, and it was like a 1970s skateboard book just to learn about skateboarding. I guess I miss the innocence of childhood. That's what I miss. Do you miss that? Do you miss that feeling of not having any responsibility and just, yeah, I really miss that feeling of not having baggage, not having experiences that are bad in your life, but just all kind of like, yeah, when you're a kid, you think that everything's difficult, right? Things can feel really difficult, but once you become an adult, you realize that being a kid is, well, it was great. One of the things that I was always interested in when I was a kid was Russia. Anything Russian. I don't know why, it was a bit of an obsession. Anyone that found anything that was even slightly Russia related, they would give me it because they knew I was really interested. Like I remember my sister got some instructions from a like microscope in Bulgarian. She was like, "Oh wow, Sam, you might like this," and I was like, "Oh wow, something written in Cyrillic." I was really obsessed with everything Russia related. But then I kind of lost my way in young adulthood, messed around way too much, did lots of things that I'm not going to even talk about on the video. But Russia saved me. And the reason that Russia saved me is because I needed something new. I was heading in the wrong direction, and I knew that I needed to make a change. And when you can find something that you really love and you want to do, then it helps you to make a change. Now, I was, as I said, really lost. And then I remembered, you know, I was really interested in Russia as a kid. Let me try and get obsessed with Russia again. And that's what I did. I was lucky enough to make friends with some Russian people. They invited me to come here. They lived in the UK, but they were from this town, and that's how I ended up coming to this town. And coming to Russia gave me a new whole, I don't know, kind of obsession, something to get involved in, something to get stuck into. Learning the language, seeing completely different places, meeting completely new people really helped me to reinvent myself. At 25 years old, I was able to reinvent myself and come to Russia, because if I'd have stayed in the UK, I think I would have gone down a really bad path. But it was a bit of a weird one, because I was really interested in Russia, really interested in everything Russia related. And then when I came to Russia, I got to learn about loads of new things, but then I was already here. So I needed to find something that I could do here and not just come to Russia. Right? Because I would go to the UK, work for a while at a rubbish job, save some money up, come back to Russia, spend a couple of months here. But then what? What was the plan next? I was obsessed with Russia. And if you live outside of Russia, it's kind of cool to be obsessed with Russia, to be obsessed with Russian music, Russian films, whatever. Try and find anything you can about Russia. But when you come to Russia, well, you're already in Russia. So you need to find something else to do when you're here. And then, yeah, that was kind of a bit of a struggle for me. I was lucky to kind of get in on real estate for a while. I ended up then opening up an English language school. And just slowly but surely, I started to kind of settle in and integrate into society. Now, it wasn't as easy to come to Russia back then and to get a residency like it is now for you guys if you want to come here. But it gave me a new purpose in life coming here, and it's kind of, you start all over again. It's like you're like a baby when you come here. You really are like a baby. That's why I think so many men come here and get married really quickly, because they're a baby, but they've got a nanny to look after them. But after being in Russia for a while, Russia changes you and you become a different person. And it's a bit weird because who you were, you're not that person anymore. And when you go back to the place where you're from, you feel like an outsider there, but you still feel like a bit of an outsider here because you're not the same as everyone else. So Russia kind of changes you and you kind of don't understand really who you are for a while. It's a bit weird. And then Russia becomes like home. And then you become kind of like the person who teaches and helps other people to come to Russia too. That's how it worked out for me with the school that I opened, because I took third year gap year students from Nottingham University to come to Russia and teach English and study Russian. So I was kind of like the father figure helping them to navigate Russia. And so I'd come like full circle from being the person that learns about Russia. And to be fair, I still am a person that learns about Russia, but at the same time, having that knowledge to help other people learn about Russia. I'd like to try and build something here on the plot myself in the summer. I'm not a very handy man, but I'm thinking perhaps some sort of like barbecue zone or something like that I can build, even if it's just a temporary structure so that I can come out here and make barbecues. Because I wasn't born in Russia, I'll never have that same connection that Russians have with each other, because of the things you do when you go to school, the things you learn throughout your childhood. I'll have those connections with people in the UK that will just remember a song that we sang in, I don't know, kindergarten or whatever it was, right? Or in school or something, and everyone in every school in the UK would have sung that song, and no matter, you know, which school you went to, you can remember that song and have a laugh about it. That's the kind of thing that Russians can do with each other that I can't, because I didn't go through that process. So there's a load of kind of inside jokes and different situations and lines from films and things like that that I'll never be able to kind of get used to or even know about enough in order to, you know, in order to be part of it all. And it's a bit weird, it's a bit of a shame, but that's kind of just the way it is. So I'm still waiting for them to come and connect the electricity, and then I need to get this wire here and dig it, bury it so that it comes back up on the other side there, so I don't have the whole wire hanging over my plot of land. I used to be scared of that as a kid. Did you like power cables when you were a kid? So the reason that I talked about how initially in childhood I wasn't confident and I didn't know how to ask for help to adults in a situation that I was, you know, encountering that I didn't know was not normal, or I didn't know how to ask or to talk about things. Well, in adulthood, it's kind of come full circle as well, because of the baggage that I have, because of the experiences that I've had, that has also determined my life. And I feel like I've set boundaries for myself, which kind of prevents me from living the life that I want to, maybe. I don't drink anymore, and the reason I don't drink is because when I have a little bit of alcohol, I feel really, really anxious, even if it's just a tiny little bit, and so I don't drink. But then I feel like I'm missing out because all of my friends drink all the time. And so whenever we meet, they're all having fun, they're drinking, they're laughing and joking, and I'm not. And so I feel like I'm still setting boundaries for myself and not allowing myself to live the life that I want. But I really don't know how to overcome that. I understand that life is short. I understand that you've got to live life to your full potential. But at the same time, those experiences and those things that you don't have when you're a child, because, you know, you don't care, especially in your teenage years, right? You don't really care. You're just living free. You've got no baggage. You just do what you want. I really miss the innocence of that time more than anything. I'm jealous of my neighbour. I'm not really jealous, but he has got a cool house. But that's life. I'm not complaining. I have an amazing life, and I'm very, very lucky and very, very blessed to live the life that I live. I just wanted to share some thoughts with you, because I've really enjoyed every now and again when I've been coming here to this plot of land and walking around and sharing thoughts. And it seems a lot of you guys, when you watch my videos, you have the same kind of thoughts that I do. I'd really like to hear your thoughts, or I guess read your thoughts. If you want to leave me a comment and say, you know, what it is that you regret not doing in your life, or maybe something that you had a similar experience in childhood, let me know in the comments. I'd really be pleased to read your thoughts, read your experiences, and it'd be great to share them with me.